installation, and you had the same framing in your film.
Actually, the only place where you can be quiet is to go to the les toits, to the roofs, yeah, because you cannot imagine, because you don't have the smell and like when you are inside, it's very, very hot. It's full of sand and pollution. And when I came back home, I always had a headache, like during the filming, because it's so much polluted. And the streets are very small, and there is so many people, and even for the people who live there, you're getting very tired when you live there. So the only place where you can breathe is to go to the roof and have this intimacy that you cannot have, because they live all together, the whole family, in very small houses. So yeah, they lived with the grandmother, the father, they have no space. So that's why I ended like making these landscapes. Also because I was feeling completely stressed, and it was like also during the film trying to make you calm down, and also because the sound is very bad. The sound in the parties, like the sound system they're using they're very poor, so it's a very bad one, and they put it very, very loud. And, yeah, everything is too loud, everything is too much. Impression.
So yes, as a woman, so how you were able to go through all these scenes?
Actually, yeah, you don't see the women in the film because most of the girlfriends of the boys and the sisters, they didn't want to appear in the film because actually they say there is girls and boys, they don't dance together because the party is in the middle of the neighborhoods, yeah. And if you want to get married, you're supposed not to have boyfriends before your marriage, but it's not true. Like through Facebook, they all meet, but in other neighborhoods, and everything is secret. And you go out with a girl from another neighborhood. So this is something you cannot show in the film, because respecting the girls who the film came out in Egypt, people saw it. And then it's gonna come on Al Jazeera documentary channel, and it's gonna be one day I'll put it on the internet. So. Like just for respecting them, that there is this pressure of the society, the parents, the family, but in the reality, boys and girls go out together, have boyfriends, and have love stories before wedding, before the marriage.
But you have done screenings in.
Yeah, I've done many screenings in Egypt.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because the Egyptian people, they love the movie. Just some conservative people, and not the religious one actually, more like people who say you give a bad image of Egypt are very upset because they hate this music. But most of the people who saw the film really liked it and were surprised that they said to me, like, we're very surprised that a foreigner did this movie. We couldn't imagine that someone coming from abroad could get inside the spaces, but also have this, because it's showing poor neighborhoods, but what the Egyptian people appreciated is that it's not miserable. What I'm showing is people who are very creative and do things with nothing. And when you get depressed in Europe or in the States, like we used to be, because like, I don't know, like we're very spoiled, when you go there and you come back, you're full of energy, because you see that comparing, for example, to the suburbs of Paris, where we have a lot of people with Arabic background who are saying all the time that France is a very difficult country, there is racism, which is true. But it's very inspiring to see these kids, nobody's giving anything to them, and they still find this power, energy to do things, and they don't care, and they don't need the TV, they don't need the broadcast. And they make their money in the weddings. This is really crazy. Like, it's comparing to musicians in Europe, you know, they don't need to sell the.
So it's their market.
Yeah, they have their own market. Yes.
And it's interesting when you say they think, for them you are a foreigner.
Yeah.
When we see the movie, we don't feel you as a foreigner. You feel very comfortable, but very confident.
Yeah, but when I say that is that in Egypt there is a lot of classes, like people from poor classes, they don't meet people from other classes. And this is the whole story about this film, because this music for the first time was bringing in the scene, in the front, people who usually you don't see on TV. And it became fashionable, like as you see in the film, like it became huge. Oka and Ortega are big stars today. And there is now a lot of movies telling their stories and movies who are shot in the slums. So it means that something was changing. But when I started to do the movie, if someone from another class was coming with me, for example, it would change the way they were talking, the way they were moving, because they were feeling they don't belong the same. And maybe because when I say foreigner, it's like you're from nowhere. You're not part of the whole system of the society. So you're weird. You're like someone from another place. So they open their heart more than just.
Yeah, the support of the family as well was very interesting when you look at the grandmother and the way the mother helped the boys to get the instruments and so on. And
yeah, the mother of Islam Shipsi who died, actually, it's very powerful because Islam Shipsi is giving money to his whole family since he's a kid, because he's owning a lot of money in the weddings. And now he's becoming very famous. He's on tour in Europe. And he was playing everywhere and very well paid. And for the first time in his life, he had a passport. He took a plane, and now he's getting to make an album. He's very, very successful. And it's true, his parents, his father and his mother died because they were working too much, like from being exhausted of working. His mother was working nights to do the wedding dresses. His father was a worker, and so he was an orphan like when he was 14, 15 years old. And so you can see how much like these parents wanted to support the children, to give them another future. And the mother had that in mind, that if his son is good for music, she should really support him. This is beautiful. Maybe you have questions
yes.
in the audience.
So much. First of all, I really enjoyed watching your documentary. I've never been to Egypt as well, and it was so interesting to at least perceive the atmospheres of the neighborhoods you decided to show. My question is, why were you inspired to tell this story at first? Really? Why?
So at first, I was working on a TV report. I first did a small report for the TV about Islam Shipsi, who was becoming like that nobody knew before, and actually all the boys I was filming, when I started filming, they were not famous at all, and I fall in love with the neighborhoods. I fall in love with how the people live there, how their heart is big, and how they need to. I wanted to give them a voice, actually, and by starting doing the movie, it changed their life, because I introduced them to some people, I showed the footage to producers, so slowly it became to be, at the beginning when I was showing the things to Egyptian friends who had clubs, and I was trying to make them play, for example, in the Cairo Jazz Club, people were laughing at me. And were like, we don't mix our clients with these boys. It was really like that at the beginning. And I felt this rage that they really should like go out of their neighborhood, and it took like a year, and it finally happened in Egypt, and then in the Middle East, and now even in Europe, because we were touring with the film and having concerts with the boys in London, in Amsterdam, in Germany, in Switzerland, in many countries.
Thank you.
And this is the most beautiful thing with the film, is that it changed the life of the kids, and that the film was like traveling with them, and that it was not just a film, it was affecting their lives. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this movie. I saw it 6 months ago, and it was a total different movie to see it now with the light of what happened in Paris 3 days ago. And I have a son of 19 who does rap music, Theodore, you know him. And it was really, we were whispering during the movie how we had the feeling we were seeing him and his friends. So there is like a universal movement from inconscient to inconscient of those kids. that do that very festive music, very political, and I love that it go through joy, you know, and we used to think like those kids could get killed by those crazy Muslim brothers, but now our kids in Paris can be killed also from the same reason. So it takes another dimension, and I was very touched by that, so thank you.
Yeah, I would like to say something about that, because when I started to do the movie, I was asking myself why the Muslim Brotherhood and why the Salafis are not interrupting the parties, are not like fighting with the boys. Because actually you have two types of weddings in the slums. You have the religious weddings without music, very boring, and these weddings. And actually they became so popular in the neighborhoods that they couldn't stop them. They didn't even try to stop them because it was like they don't want to be unpopular. They try to keep their popularity in the neighborhood, the Muslim Brotherhood, for example. So I think they were thinking, should we stop them or not? And then they finally decide, okay, let them do that. They need it. They need to it's catharsis, you know. It means like you need to put your energy out when you're so living in so difficult places, and this is a moment of craziness they're all experiencing together. And the weird thing is like it's the parents are there, and finally the kids took the marriage in hostage. The marriage doesn't look like a marriage anymore, it looks like a rave party, which is very crazy. And in the most traditional part of the society, which is the wedding, they are transforming it to something else, and this is quite crazy.